Hello, good afternoon, Dimitrios. How are you doing today?
Very good, Michael. So happy to be here.
Good. Welcome. Thank you very much. Welcome to Five Habits of my conversation series, where I'm talking to brilliant people about the habits that they are experts in to help us as ops leaders make the most of being brilliant leaders. Now, today you are going to take us through our five habits of supercharging your performance at work and in life in brackets. Before we go into that, can you tell us a little bit about you, who you are?
Of course, my name is Dimitrios. I work with founders and teams to elevate their performance by doing things a little bit differently and focusing on a variety of pillars. So not just work, but how are we in our life? How are we in terms of attaining other goals we might have outside of work? How are we in our relationships? What kind of impact are we having on society? Each of these is a pillar, and it comes down to identifying what these pillars are and then supercharging your performance to actually go out there and achieve every single thing you want to achieve.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love how you've gone beyond the workplace because quite often those are the things that affect how we turn up. Right. So whatever's going on at home or even politically, especially the last 24, 36 months, politically what's going around us wherever we are in the world,
Mm.
it's really going to affect how we turn up in the world and actually how we deal with that and what we bring into the office.
And I think that's a fantastic point. My mission in life is to make high performance more tangible to every
Mm.
single person. There's a huge misconception that high performance is only for Olympic athletes, only for elite footballers, only for high flying CEOs. And the reality is that high performance applies to each and every one of us in our day to day habits and how we deal with difficult situations and how we treat the people in our lives. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all about aspiring to be as excellent as possible. And the root of that is habits that can really redefine your performance and hopefully get it to a level where it can be defined as high performance.
Oh, I love it. Amazing. Brilliant. Well, that has set the scene. So we have 25 minutes. What is habit number one that we should be considering?
So I think the first habit, in terms of how I want to frame it, is making self reflection a ritual. I cannot overstate the importance of sitting with your thoughts and making sense of how you think, what you say, and how you act. And the discomfort holds the key to transformation. So when you start to reflect, how did I show up at work? How did I show up in a conversation with a loved one? What triggered me? What made me feel a sense of pride? What made me feel insecure? I mean, hopefully, all these things are generating positive feelings, but it's likely that you're also going to generate discomfort. And being able to sit with that discomfort and normalize it in the sense that there's nothing wrong with you. There's no need to feel guilt. There's no need to feel shame. Everything you feel is a nugget, and how you use that nugget changes the perspective of the lived experience you have, either in the past, present, or future.
Oh, that's really interesting. So you pinged my brain. It's interesting what you were saying about sitting with the discomfort, or like when something happens, and I guess that reflecting can be reflecting in the moment or in the end of the day. But I think one of the things that stands out for me is when I'm doing something I don't like, I have the habit of picking my phone up and then checking a website. Just for I think it's for an endorphin hit to break that discomfort. And it's really resonant. Like recently, I've been like, oh god, you're like
But what you've
calling
just
ourselves.
said, so interesting in terms of observing the discomfort. That's the first step. You can't
Yeah,
sit with it unless you've observed it. And observing it and then creating a logical sequence to it is the next step. Once you start to keep once you keep observing this discomfort, then it loses its power over you. So if you can see that you're about to pick your phone up but you don't pick your phone up, great. Michael 1, bad habit 0. Now how many times can you do that, so to the point where you're not actually connected to that bad habit anymore?
yeah,
There'll be other bad habits that take its place, but you've got to sort of sit through each and every one until you get to a point where you're unmoved. You feel pride, great. You feel triggered, doesn't matter. Whatever you're feeling, you understand why you're feeling it, and it no
yeah,
longer holds any power on you or over you.
yeah. I love it. I love it. And actually, once you understand what it is, you can do something about it because it's that permanent procrastination. If you let that always checking your phone when you become uncomfortable and you never change it, you are just going to be, you'll be stuck in that doom scroll loop when things don't go to plan and you won't make it better.
Hence the second bit of that first habit, making it a ritual. If it's something you do once a week, you'll have so many bad habits by the end of the week, it's going to be impossible to sift through all of them and deal with them. By doing it daily, it doesn't have to be a very complex exercise. 5-10 minutes. What made me feel good? What didn't make me feel good? What thoughts have I had which I'm proud of? What thoughts have I had which I'm not proud of? How are the people around me making me feel? How are my interactions typically? How do they go? Because that tells you a lot about how you're thinking, how you're showing up in life. And I think alignment comes down to thoughts, words, actions. You're not going to act in a negative way if you haven't had a thought that proceeds or comes first before the action itself. So starting, I think this is a very, very well-known high-performance framework. Think, feel, act. To act to the highest level or to attain high performance, your thoughts need to be to the highest level and at the highest level.
Yeah, love it. Okay, cool. So if that's us noticing what's going on in our world and where that discomfort is, what's habit number 2?
Habit number 2 is focusing on further improving your strengths.
Oh,
We live in a world where there's so much emphasis on improving weaknesses. Now, sometimes the weaknesses are serious enough or they impact your overall performance where they need addressing. But overall, if you think about it from an efficiency standpoint, if I score myself a 7 out of 10 in an area and I deem that to be a strength, I'm better off getting that to an 8 and 9 in the next month, month and a half, than I am getting a weakness that I score 2 out of 10 to a 4 out of 10 in the next month and a half. What is a 4 out of 10 going to do for me? Sure, you've improved it, but in terms of ascertaining what are the most important strengths in building a business, what are the most important strengths in leading a team? If you have strengths, but they're not 10 out of 10, and I don't think any of us can sit on any call and claim to be a 10 out of 10 on anything, but if you're close to that 10 out of 10, the goal is to get it to a 9, 9.5.
Yeah.
Spending all your energy, effort, mental well-being, trying to get 2, 3, 4 areas of weakness, which might not actually have anything to do with what you're trying to achieve anyways, I don't think is going to keep you motivated, because also getting something from a 2 out of 10 to a 4 out of 10 is not going to give you that oomph of, my God, I'm proud of myself, I did something amazing. But knowing that 3, 4 of my strengths are at a 9 out of 10, imagine the sort of confidence and self, or jump on a call or be able to influence the people in the workplace or in my life in the most positive way, because I can, you look the part, and to look it, you also have to feel it.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Like really focusing on a couple of areas and being brilliant at them. And I think one of the things that the world has given us now is there is so much automation out there that you can automate those 2s, those 3s, those 4s, and bring them up to the 5s and the 6s, so they actually do it better than you would do, quicker, and you can focus on doing the things that you really love and you're really good at and actually have most impact on.
I think that's also what distinguishes us from artificial intelligence. I mean, I know artificial intelligence has now been trained to mimic or mirror feelings and emotions, but the reality is the way a human can interact with a situation, show compassion, show empathy, navigate difficult conversations. That's what distinguishes us as humans. The automation is strong. A lot of people come to me and say, I hate admin. I don't like one-to-one performance reviews. I don't do this, I don't do that. Well, there are components of what I've just described which you can do in an automated way. At first, get the discomfort or what you don't like out of the way, and then bring in the human component, the empathy, the compassion, the willingness to be great at something that is so, so human. That's why we fly planes now. That's why we travel to the other side of the world in just a day. It's because of this desire to discover the unknown. That's what we need to be focusing on in terms of pushing us to be the best we can be in our field. And I think it comes down to focusing on the areas that we're very, very good at and improving that even more.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. So what is habit number 3?
This is the hardest one, I would say, or one of the hardest out of the 5, building mental and psychological resilience by learning to self-regulate. It happens and it takes place with experience. You have to learn to self-regulate yourself, and it's not an easy thing to do. But I think how well you do at work and in life will come down to how well you manage your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. High performance focuses on the following framework, which I mentioned above, in terms of thinking the right thing, feeling the right emotions, and acting in the right way. If your thoughts are regulated, so too will your feelings and actions. And it's very much linked to that first habit that I mentioned, making self reflection a ritual, identifying the things that make you uncomfortable, and then learning to self regulate so that you
Mm.
don't have a dependency on someone else regulating you or on another emotion regulating you. So I don't feel good. I'm going to go and seek something that makes me feel good. That's not an ideal way to self regulate because that actually creates worse habits. I'd rather sit with the discomfort, understand why I feel this way, and then implement a strategy or some tactics that lead to a broader strategy, which will help me regulate myself throughout the day.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. I think my go-to way to regulate is actually to walk. It sounds really weird because it breaks the thing that I'm doing, but it allows me still to take the thing in my head, and actually just takes me away from the screen and allows my body to move. And there's loads of science around your body moving helps your brain process things. So actually, that's one of my regulators is walking. Sounds crazy. What about you? Well, how do you regulate?
Well, before I mention a tactic that I use to self regulate, it's very interesting how you mentioned walking and then felt the need to talk about how crazy it is or how simple, but that is high performance in a nutshell. The solutions don't need to be complex, but you need to know what works and then you need to go out and do it. You can't just sit with that beautiful idea of, I know walking helps me. We'll go out there
Mm,
and walk. It doesn't have to be harder than that. And slowly, slowly, you create a toolkit of habits like the one you've identified,
yeah,
which you know will help regulate different things. Because you're not necessarily going to have one habit to regulate all the feelings and emotions a human has in a day. It might be doing some exercise. I mean, for me, a CrossFit workout works wonders. Spending time doing nothing, literally watching some football on the TV, helps me regulate myself. Having a really good meal. Again, nothing out there which I'm claiming to be mind boggling or something that's never been heard of before. But it's how easy is it to not focus or to ignore things we think are too simple because we think we need a more complex solution to the problems we face in our life.
yeah, I love it. And those are things we sacrifice to the altar of efficiency sometimes. Like, oh, I can't go for a walk. I can't sit down and eat. I can't watch TV because that means I'm not a high performer. That's rubbish because those are the things that allow our brain to relax, that allow our brain to do the processing. So actually, that ability to relax, work out, eat something is what is part of high performance. Because if we don't do those things, we are not refreshed, we are not ready. And high performance is about the things you do not do as much as the things you do.
Again, fantastic addition to what I mentioned. I think for the last decade, we focused so much on hustle culture. How can I work harder than everyone? How can I go days and days without sleep to beat my competition? I mean, I understand if that motivates you, I'm not going to get in the way of that. But I can tell you with 90% certainty that it's not going to be sustainable in the long term. So you'll do that for a few years. You'll build a great business or build a great team or manage your team better than ever before, potentially. But what's going to happen then? You won't feel good about it. You will have lost all the sleep. You will have sacrificed all the relationships in your life because you spent all the time working. You will have essentially created an equation in your mind. Well, the harder you work, the better you feel. And then the more you achieve, the better you feel. And what happens if something out there impacts our business, macroeconomic reasons, a war, something that you need to then focus your attention on? All our self identity is going to crumble overnight because we focus so hard on working more than anyone else and attributing our value as a human on the success of our business. The value that we attribute to ourselves has to come uh, in the things that we do to feel good. This is why all my coaching sessions start with one simple question: how do you feel today? Super basic. How are you feeling mentally, psychologically, physically? And then as soon as my coachees start to talk about how they feel, you know exactly where the conversation is going to go. And as they share, they come to realize the solutions themselves. And that's the power, being able to voice how you feel to someone who is going to listen attentively. And the more you feel comfortable, the more you share, the more vulnerable you get, and the more answers you find without having to go out there and do things that are necessarily out of the box.
No, love it, love it. Okay, we're over halfway now. What is habit number 4?
This is my favorite: avoiding mediocrity at all costs. And I think mediocrity starts with one broken promise, one unfulfilled commitment, one comment behind someone's back. Next thing you know, it becomes a part of your identity. Before you know it, the quality of your decisions drops significantly. So, hi, Michael. Looking forward to speaking to you tomorrow on our call. 5 minutes before our call tomorrow, I cancel. Then it happens again. So, one action has now become a habit. Then it's going to happen to Josh and Anna and Emily. Then it becomes a part of your identity. You're somebody who other people perceive as flaky. Mediocrity has now entered the realm of your identity. And it becomes so hard to break these habits because then try reframing and having to rebuild the trust and the confidence in all these relationships to really prove to the people that you're no longer who you used to be 6 months ago. So much more effort, so much more brain power, so much more anxiety and stress trying to reframe or rebuild your personal brand when you can just catch these things early on.
Yeah.
Don't promise things you can't fulfill. Don't be flaky. Don't mislead people in the promises you make more broadly, say in a context of leading a team. If you've put a one-to-one performance review in the diary, that is holy. Nothing should ever change a one-to-one performance review unless the situation that has come up is so dire and so severe that merits you rescheduling. Because what you've shown the person you line manage is that they're not so important to you. And once that happens, you've broken all the trust you built months to build.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is that how you show up for people. And one of the things I've come across my journey is people over having too many people in their world, because that is if you think about the when do you have to let people down is when you have too many requests for your time. And as we go through like this leadership journey, we have to make choices, don't we, about who we keep within our circle, and actually sometimes who we have to let drift off a little bit, because we can't be attentive to all of them and we can't be there when they need us. So we have to find out what matters, who matters to us.
Again, a
And make sure that we can
prioritization.
be, again, it's like the be good at 3 things. Is it good to have 8 flaky relationships or 3 really powerful relationships?
I agree. And I think this alludes to another area of high performance, understanding where are your brain drains and where are your brain gains. Who
Yeah.
are the people you surround yourself with, and how do you feel after each and every interaction? If you don't feel great after an interaction, you need to sit down and reflect on why. It could be you, it could also be them. And there's nothing wrong with understanding that you cannot give yourself uh, parts of your well-being, parts of your energy, parts of your clarity and your thinking to every single person. You need to be able to prioritize who are the people that look up to me, who are the people I'm managing, who is my team, what do they need, and to take action and build frameworks once you know who those relationships and what those relationships are and who these people are.
Cool. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. What is our final habit?
Sounds like the simplest, but in some ways it takes a lot of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So the 5th habit is 10x your goal.
Ooh.
One question I ask the people I work with is, what is the biggest goal you have? Something you'd feel so uncomfortable sharing to people because of how audacious it might sound. And you feel like, I cannot share this with anyone. They're going to judge me. They're going to think I'm crazy. They're going to think that there's no way I'm going to be able to achieve it. That's a good starting point. It doesn't really matter what people think or what people say. What matters is that you do in fact want to achieve it. And the more audacious it is, the better. Because the higher the goal, the bigger the target. If we don't achieve it, at least what we will have achieved is more than a mediocre goal that someone's going to bring me.
Yeah.
So unless you know what you're working on, why you're working on it, it's very hard to endure when the going gets tough. So, you can't just grind your way to the top at all costs. I believe in clarity, knowing what you want, pushing your own limits of what is possible, and breaking your own ceiling.
Oh, yeah. Love it. It really because it takes you beyond where you want to be, right? Even if you get halfway to your 10 times goal, you're still 4 times past where you want it to be.
Exactly. But it's we're used to dumbing ourselves down. I can't be opinionated out of fear that those opinions will ruffle feathers. I can't hold a position that I truly believe in because it's not the done thing. I can't be audacious in the goals that I set out of fear of judgment. I can't be seen to want to be better than the people who I work with. These are complex dynamics. Once you're in that, you're done. It's going to swallow you up. And then that creates environments where mediocrity rises. That creates environments where you focus on your weaknesses because you don't want to be too strong. That creates environments where self-reflection is so difficult because everything just makes you feel so uncomfortable. So this last habit actually impacts all the other ones I've mentioned so far. And actually, self-regulating is one of the things you need to do when people judge you. Oh, that goal is crazy. There's no way you'll be able to achieve that. You just aren't good enough. I mean, someone can say that, and it's valuable to hear the feedback and then address the areas that you need to improve on. But to take someone's perspective and opinion and make that your holy grail, you're not going to live your life living someone else's lack of confidence and low self-esteem. I think that's a wasted life to live.
Yeah, cool. Love it. All right. So I love those. So to recap those 5, they are: make self-reflection a ritual, focus on further improving your strengths, building mental and psychological resilience by self-regulating, avoid mediocrity at all costs, and 10x your goal. You've also promised me one bonus habit. So what is this bonus habit that you've
I
promised
can't
me?
believe you went there. I didn't think you were going to go there. Amazing. Bonus. Yes. Habit number 6, getting unbiased feedback. And I think if anyone watching this isn't where they want to be at work, in life, it's time to change things up a little bit. I think doing the same thing and expecting different results can waste you a lot of time, energy, resources, both mental and financial. So getting unbiased feedback from someone you trust. I'm not recommending anyone work with me necessarily. You've got to be able to feel comfortable enough with the person you choose to get the feedback from. And I think the value and the strength of that relationship is going to allow you to be vulnerable and to go to your deepest thoughts. So finding somebody you trust and getting feedback from them, this is going to help you build tremendous accountability. I know a lot of people come to me and say, well, can't I build self accountability? Yes, you can. But how many times have we said we're going to do something about something and then not done it? This is where someone can step in, someone who cares enough about your goals, someone who buys into who you want to become, somebody you trust, and somebody's going to call you out for the things you claim to want to do but aren't doing, but also someone who's going to cheer you on like you've never been cheered before when things are going well. Encourage you to keep going, optimize your trajectory, and help you work on the right things and in the right way.
Yeah. It's such a powerful thing having people that can give you that unbiased feedback. And you mentioned there coaches, but there's also your network, your peers around you. And it's so important to have that broad width of people that are around you helping you on the journey. And it's about finding coaches, mentors, people that are ahead of you on the journey, but also people that are behind you on the journey. Because actually,
Exactly.
as a group of people, you get to see that forward motion and you get to see your progression. And actually having someone to go, have you thought about? And good quality coaches that have done the work, have gone and studied it. They do more than just tell you what they're seeing. they get you to see it. They get you to find it. Like you say, you ask them how they're doing, and by the end of a conversation, they found that nugget of insight themselves.
The most successful people in the world, every single one of them, has a coach. And these are people who have already attained their biggest goals, and yet they see the value of continuing to break their own ceilings. They see the value of having somebody who has been with them on a journey, but is unbiased in the sense that they're not a family member, they're not a friend, they're not a line manager who's so used to seeing you in one way, where they also have now created blind spots in terms of how they see you. The unbiased component is so important because someone can come in within half an hour. They know exactly what your limiting beliefs are. They know exactly how much confidence and self-esteem you cultivate. They know exactly the areas you need to work on. And I think in half an hour to an hour, that's pretty amazing. Of course, the work starts after the hour once you've identified all these things. And the work is very, very hard. You've got to invest in yourself financially, mentally, emotionally. You've got to show up and give your best. You've got to be ready to take a few steps back, but to know that you're going to take a lot more steps forward in terms of a net effect. And you've got to believe in it. What you put in is what you get out. You don't put in enough, you can't expect the person supporting you in this journey to magically come up with solutions and to do the work for you.
No, love it. I love it. And on that call to arms, how can people find you if they want to talk to you a bit more?
LinkedIn is the best place to go. To be honest, I have a website as well, embraceyourprocess.com. And on LinkedIn, fun fact, I have never not responded to a LinkedIn message in the last 7-8 years of having a LinkedIn account. It doesn't matter if people are selling me nonsensical things that don't apply to me. I think the least we can do is respond to anyone out there out of sheer courtesy.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it, love it, love it. Brilliant. Cool. Thank you very much. And just to anyone watching this, if you are out there in the opposite and you're struggling as well, give me a shout. I'm there to point you. And sometimes it's not even me that I end up saying, I'm the man for you. I'm like, oh, Dimitrios, I know lots of great coaches helping with lots of different problems. And this is the whole point. You come to one person in the coaching world for help. And if they are a good coach and they are not the person, they will send you in the right direction. And that's really important to know. Now, if you're watching this next week, 1 p.m, I'm talking to the brilliant Stacey Williams on my other interview series, Ops Up Inside Your Head. And we're going to be talking about Web3 and all the habits that you need to get to your get yourself to chief of staff. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Dimitrios. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Cheers, mate.